Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Almost Normal. So something happened to me this weekend which was kind of odd. I went down to my mum's kitchen and I was looking for a little bit of a snack, a little bit of a sweet treat. And this is going to sound like the most fucking boring story you've ever heard in your entire life, but I swear it gets to somewhere weird and interesting at some point, so just bear with me. I went down to the kitchen and I was like, damn, I really need something fucking sweet. Like, it's the last day of my period, God help me. Like, there must be something in this kitchen. I saw, first thing, this bucket of peanut butter that my mum buys. And my mum is one of those people that gets giant versions of things just so we have a supply of it forever and ever and ever. My grandma used to do it. I think she must have gotten it from her, but she, you know, if she can buy the biggest pot of marmalade, like, that's gonna be what she orders, you know, and it's just gonna be there until it's not. She has this big bucket of peanut butter and I was like, ooh, what can I eat with that? Then I saw a bar of Tony's Chocolonely chocolate, which is the best fucking chocolate in the world, I think, and it was the salted caramel flavor. Oh, it's just delicious. And I was like, that and that, perfect snack. Okay, a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of peanut butter, I'm done. That is a little bit of me. That is a little bit of me. Anyway, I put up my camera. For some reason, I felt like I wanted to film this very boring, mundane thing that I did. I decided, film it and put it on TikTok. Like, what the hell? I don't even know. I'm so obsessed with my image on TikTok right now, and I'm trying to let that go. I mentioned it in the last video, and I'm trying to just sort of release myself from that, release myself from overthinking, overanalyzing every single thing that I post on the internet. I just can't be bothered to do it anymore. So I was like, let's just fucking start posting the most useless shit ever. So this was me attempting to do that, okay? And I posted it. And I got like 300 views, whatever. I was like, great, love that. I love a flop. It's always good. Then, the next day, or that night, the views started to increase a little bit. Okay, what's going on here? Then, I started to get some comments. And I'm gonna read some. Because I was confused. I didn't understand. Yes, the views started to go up a little bit. Then the comments started to come in. And the first comment I believe I got was MIA face is real, or Mia face is real. I don't know how to pronounce it, never heard of it before. So I commented back being like, what's Mia face? Like, I don't understand what that means. Then the next comment was, those nails are gonna hurt. And I was like, huh? I don't understand what you guys are talking about. So then I commented to that saying, these are my least aggressive set of nails I've ever had in my life. Because I just did not understand what this person was talking about, okay? Then I started to get some more comments a little bit like this, a little bit more deep, a little dark. And I started to put two and two together, and I realized that my TikTok video had somehow ended up on the ED side of TikTok. And I don't know how this happened. It was not intentional. Didn't put any hashtags, you know, anything that would lead it to that. It was literally me eating a piece of chocolate in my kitchen. And the amount of eating videos I see on TikTok, like, I don't see how mine was any different. But it must have just ended up on the wrong side of TikTok somehow. And these comments kept coming in, one after the other, dun, 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 dun. I'm gonna read some more. Okay, she said, the MIA face is real. Okay, someone else said, physique checks out. I said checks out for what? I really didn't understand what they were talking about at this point. And then I got it. Holy calorie maxing. Holy calories. That's why you're bloated. Then another comment stood out to me and it said, why would you post this? This is just normalizing unhealthy behaviors, and I'm not talking about unhealthy food choices. This one, for some reason, I noticed the most because there were a lot of them. Okay, I think there's over 100 comments on that video now, mostly bad. I notice, by the way, that sometimes when I'm starting to get a barrage of hateful comments, the saviors will come in at some point. So just hold your ground, people. Hold your ground. Your people will come and find you at some point. Because I was like, oh, I should delete this because this is not my intention. This is not what I was trying to represent. I don't know how this came about. This is just something that I really didn't plan at all. But I was like, I was also like, fuck this. Like, I am not taking down my thing because other people are assuming things about me. That's just not the way I wanna be in my real life and also online. This comment got to me. Why would you post this? This is just normalizing unhealthy behaviors, and I'm not talking about unhealthy food choices. So I responded to this and I said, I think it's really interesting that everything women do is labeled, judged, criticized, overanalyzed. Everything we do, people want a deeper meaning. People want to find a way to demonize it. It's very, very rare that a woman can do anything without someone having something to say. And I just think that if it was a man who posted a video of him eating chocolate and peanut butter, probably wouldn't have ended up on the ED side of TikTok, and probably no one would say anything bad about it, because, like, why would you? It's a girl or it's a man eating some chocolate in his kitchen. So I responded in a video, as a video reply to that comment, saying something along the lines of that. And I also said, chocolate is not unhealthy, all right? I believe Skinny Talk has absolutely ruined our brains, because the fact that a block of chocolate and some peanut butter is deeply affecting people and saying how I'm probably bloated and big because I eat this, that's mind-boggling to me. The person who made the comment then replied. They said something along the lines of, I'm really, really sorry I made this comment. I was misled by the other comments. This really got me thinking, and it's interesting because I actually had been planning to make today's topic about how social media is killing our creativity, and I am actually going to get to that today as well, but this situation somehow tied in very nicely with that. She said that the comments on the other video misled her, which implies that instead of watching the video, instead of making her own assumptions about it, using her own creative mind to figure out how this video made her feel, she read the comments. And she wanted to be part of the bandwagon. And so she made a comment as well. That was very much like the other ones. But if she's telling the truth, this was not a unique thought process for her. She did not watch the video, have an emotional reaction to it, and then make the comment. According to her, she read the other comments and wanted to join in. And I think that's very interesting, because that's another point of social media that takes away our creativity that I wasn't even thinking about. But it's the fact that I feel as though when you spend too much time on social media, your own critical thinking is stunted, because you have so many other people kind of telling you what to think and feel. And it feels easier because you don't have to be brave and say something against everyone else. Everyone's sort of giving you the answers of what to say. And this is like another factor of how social media kills creativity that I genuinely didn't even really think that deeply on. I was thinking of a lot of other different points. I made a lot of notes on other different points as to why social media kills creativity. But that's another one, okay? We see things on social media. They're very available to us. We are very available to comment on the comments. We don't need to use our critical faculties as much as we used to. And we also feel like we are obliged to, or we feel like we should be commenting on a lot of things that we don't really feel we would comment on otherwise. There's no other reason this person would say this. If they didn't have an emotional reaction to this video, why say anything about it? I thought that was really interesting that that happened this weekend, because the topic I actually wanted to discuss was the absence of boredom in this day and age due to social media. When we are sitting in our rooms, staring at the ceiling, twiddling our thumbs, when we don't have a deadline to do, when we don't have someone to meet, when we don't have an essay to finish, when we don't have anything, we will just instinctively pick up our phones and we will have a plethora of entertainment, a plethora of information. And the thing is with social media is that it gives your brain literally all the information. It gives it what it sounds like, it gives it what it smells like, it gives it what it looks like, it gives it what it feels like, everything, okay? And so the brain is not really asked to do any work. It's not like, hey, can you tell me and fill in the gaps of this? Can you fill in the gaps for this? No. It's like, I don't really need to do fucking anything. You have all the information. So it just sits there idle and it doesn't develop and it doesn't work and it's basically just asleep. And I think that in the moments of boredom, you know, the moments where we're not focused on anything, that is kind of where creativity is born, okay? The moments where we're sitting in bed, staring at the wall, being like, I'm fucking so bored. Your brain won't let you be bored for that long. It'll start to work. The cogs will start to turn. You'll be inspired, okay? Or you'll just be so uncomfortable in your boredom that you'll be pushed to go and do something else. Bake a cake, go for a walk, talk to a friend, whatever it may be. But the fact that we have social media so available to us and the fact that it's just there and we really, really don't ever have to sit in the uncomfortability of boredom is so dangerous for our creative minds. We just don't have to feel the urge to go and do anything. And I mentioned briefly in the last episode, when I used to be bored, I hated it. And sometimes I would get up from my bed and I would go into my mom's room and I'd be like, Mom, I'm so fucking bored. And I would be like complaining to her as if it was her fault or whatever. And then I would start having a conversation with my mom. And it's just like that small little moment of discomfort pushed me to go do something that I wouldn't have done otherwise, okay? I'm at my mom's house now and I noticed that there's a lot of times I could just go and sit with her and have a cup of tea with her, but I don't. Because it's not my initial thought. My initial thought is to go on social media and see what's going on there. And then I get stuck in the doom scroll and I'm there for ages. And then I feel fucking shitty afterwards. But the topic I actually wanted to talk about today was the absence of boredom in this day and age and how that literally is killing our creativity. And I made some notes, so I'm going to read them out. But I thought it was like very, very interesting. And I also think that it's interesting that that really tied into what I saw happening on social media today or this weekend. How in front of my eyes, someone admitted that they did not interpret what they were seeing on social media for themselves, and they did not comment and react due to a unique impulse. It was based purely on what they were reading from other people's points of views. Again, that's not specifically what I was talking about. I was more talking about the lack of boredom, but it is just so interesting how all of these, there's so many little ways that social media is just like, don't be creative, okay? We have everything we need for you right here. Your brain does not need to work whatsoever. I also just one other point before I get into the notes. I believe that when you are looking on social media, you are watching other people's creativity already being fulfilled. And so you don't feel like you have to fulfill those things yourself because it's already been done and you can just consume. And I don't feel like we should just be consuming. I feel like we should be producing. And I think that in my life, personally, I am mostly satisfied when I am producing. I don't feel like I get much satisfaction from consuming, though I do it all the time, okay? Whether it be clothes, social media, food, anything. I feel like when I'm there to make something, when I've made it, when I've put thought and love into it, it is so much more satisfying, fulfilling. The things that I consume from other people, the sort of dopamine from that is brief. It's quick and it's brief. And I think that is dangerous to be involving yourself in all the time. I think it's okay. We live in a consumerism state. I think it's okay to consume sometimes, but I don't think it should be our default all the time. And I also think that when we're doing something, when we're at work, when we're at school, when we're busy, when we're with friends, like we aren't forced to step out of our comfort zone. We're not really forced to feel uncomfortable and go and do something that we wouldn't think of doing otherwise. And so we really need those moments where we're alone, but we're not alone anymore. Anyway, I wrote some notes. So what is boredom actually? Boredom isn't just having nothing to do. Psychologists define it as a state of wanting to be mentally stimulated, but being unable to find something satisfying. It's uncomfortable, restless, like a craving for purpose. But that discomfort, it's important. It signals, this isn't fulfilling, you need to shift gears, create something, move, or reflect. So when we never feel boredom, we lose that inner nudge towards deeper engagement. Why social media is so effective at killing boredom. Social media gives us a dopamine drip, Endless novelty, humor, hot takes, aesthetics, drama. You're swiping your way through micro stimulation. It's addictive by design, literally. Platforms are engineered to hook your attention in zero point 0.3 seconds, reward you with likes and laughs, keep you scrolling with algorithms tuned to your exact interests. So the second you feel that uncomfortable pause on a bus, in line, sitting in silence, you reflexively reach for your phone and boredom is gone. But here's what we trade away. 1. Boredom enhances creativity. A study was done in 2014 called Man and Cadman. In the study, they made people do extremely boring tasks like copying numbers from a phone book. Afterwards, the participants were given a creative task. The bored ones outperformed the non-bored ones. Why? Because boredom triggers daydreaming, which activates the default mode network in your brain. That's the part of your brain responsible for mental time travel, thinking about the past and the future, self-reflection, and creative insight. When you're scrolling, this network doesn't get to do its job. 2. Boredom forces you into a meaningful action. Psychologist John Eastwood calls boredom the unengaged mind. Without boredom, we don't notice that we're unfulfilled. We don't realize we're lonely, we just scroll. We don't realize we hate our jobs, we just binge a show. We don't start the creative project because we don't get that itch to do something better with our time. Instead of changing our lives, we just numb them. Number 3, the dopamine problem. Every time you scroll, watch, click, or swipe, your brain gets a hit of dopamine, the feel-good chemical. But this creates a dangerous feedback loop. The more you stimulate yourself with quick dopamine, the harder it becomes to enjoy slow dopamine, like reading a book, having a deep conversation, painting, or even just resting. This leads to a rising threshold for stimulation. I used to watch one YouTube video, now I need TikTok, music, and text going at the same time just to feel okay. It's not a lack of willpower, it's your brain chemistry adapting to overstimulation. Number 4, we've lost the art of being alone with ourselves. In the past, moments of stillness, walking, waiting, sitting in nature were spaces for reflection, processing emotion, and making sense of your identity. Now, silence feels unbearable. We're trained to avoid it, but here's the thing. When you don't allow yourself to be bored, you never really meet yourself. Number 5, young brains are especially vulnerable. Adolescents and young adults have more plastic, changeable brains. They're forming identity, attention habits, and emotional regulation skills. Studies show that constant stimulation in youth is linked to shortened attention spans, weaker emotional resilience, increased anxiety and depression, difficulty tolerating discomfort. It's not that we're bad at being bored, it's just that we never learn how. What's at stake? Without boredom, we risk never tapping into our true creativity, losing focus and depth, numbing ourselves instead of growing, replacing emotional processing with digital distraction, becoming addicted to external input instead of internal reflection. I remember when I was a kid, I would have all these imaginary friends. I would have all of these imaginary stories. Okay, I would be in my dad's car and I would be looking out the window as he drive down the freeway and I would be coming up with all these scenarios and they would excite me and make me happy and make me want to talk, and they were just stimulating me in a different way. They were making me interested in the life I was living, and I don't feel like I do that as much anymore. I really do find that I struggle to sit and imagine things as much as I used to. And I do believe that it is because my brain is just so used to being fed the information, it's really just stopped sort of wanting to work. It happens without us even noticing. I don't even really notice. I think that as I get older, my brain is just less creative. Maybe I just have less of a childlike wonder, but I don't think that's the case. I think I've just been spending way too much time on social media. I believe that childlike wonder is still there, 100%. I don't believe it's gone. I don't believe that has to go with age. I don't believe that you have to mature in all senses of the word as you get older. I believe that the greatest people that I know are super, super childlike, especially in their imagination and stuff like that. And I would just hate to see a generation of people lose that. And I think that it's really easy to let that happen, and it's not our faults, and it's definitely something that has been drilled into us, and especially the people that have had their phones on them since they were very, very young. I am very happy that I didn't have my phone on me as a teenager a lot, because there was just not a lot to do on there back then. I think it's something to be aware of for sure. And I mentioned in the last episode how I'm really trying to break away from a lot of addictions, and I have done so. But social media is one of those ones that I really didn't consider, and I really didn't think that it was a big deal. And I didn't really understand how deeply it was affecting how I thought. The link between boredom and self discovery. Historically, boredom has been the birthplace of breakthroughs, from art to inventions. When we're not distracted, we naturally ask ourselves, what do I care about? What do I want to create? Who am I? Some philosophers, like Soren Kierkegaard, don't know if I pronounced that properly, believe boredom is essential for self-awareness because it forces us to face the void of life and create meaning for ourselves. Without it, we're just filling space with noise. Cultural versus generational boredom. Past generations had fewer distractions, but also less constant pressure to be entertained. They could tolerate quiet moments, bus rides, waiting rooms, dinner without screens. We've come to see boredom as a failure of productivity or an uncomfortable silence to escape from. Social media makes us believe that every second should be documented, optimized, or consumed. The anxiety of always being stimulated. Constant digital stimulation doesn't just erase boredom, it can make us anxious when we don't have input. Ever felt panic when you left your phone at home? That's your brain craving its dopamine fix. Some researchers have compared this to addiction. We're hooked on external stimulation the same way we might be hooked on caffeine or nicotine. Boredom and the death of long-form focus. Long-form content, books, podcasts, movies, is harder to engage with because our brains are trained on 15-second bursts of content. A 2019 study from Microsoft suggested that our average attention span dropped to 8 seconds, shorter than a goldfish, which is debated, but paints a picture on how things are going. I personally have been trying to read a book, and it's been a while since I've read a book because I felt like I never had any time, even though I had plenty of time. I just was on my phone the whole time. I have recently tried to start reading a book. Every paragraph, I want to put the book down and check my phone. Every paragraph. And I believe I have convinced myself that this is normal. It is not normal. It is not normal to have that physical urge to put whatever you're doing down and pick up a phone. Like, it is not normal. That is not how cavemen lived their lives. It is not normal. But I have a physical urge to stop what I'm doing if I'm trying to read a book, trying to watch a movie, and check my phone. And I'll put my phone down sometimes for 30 seconds and I still will get that urge to pick it back up. Social media, the myth of productivity. Social media creates a false sense of activity. You feel busy while scrolling because your brain is constantly processing novelty, but afterwards, you feel drained and like you've wasted time. Real boredom often sparks productive or meaningful action because you want to fill that space with creativity, connection, or rest. Something that really scares me is the idea of a social media detox, but I think it will be extremely beneficial and maybe we can all do it together. Because after reading all of this stuff, I am scared. I am scared for my brain. I am afraid. I don't want to do this all the time, okay? The amount of times during this podcast I picked up my phone to check my TikTok is abominable, okay? Abominable? Is that the word? The abominable snowman? Diabolical. I think I was trying to say diabolical. Diabolical, okay? I keep picking it up to check. What am I checking for? What am I checking for? So if someone likes my post, like, who gives a shit? Don't worry about that. You can look at that later. Anyway, I think a detox would be great. I think a detox would be wonderful. I think a big thing about social media that makes me want to go on it all the time is this sense of FOMO, like I'm missing out on something. There's some sort of interesting thing that, like, I can't wait to see and I have to be involved in it now. Like, if we could do a social media detox all together, then maybe we wouldn't feel FOMO. We'd all know that we were sitting in our beds reading a book. Sorry, my camera really doesn't like me today. It keeps running out of battery, running out of charge, getting too hot. Anyway, I think we're going to be okay for the rest of this video. I am almost done. As I was saying, I think a huge part of social media, and the reason we want to go on it so much, is there is this weird sense of FOMO, like, if I don't go on it right now, I'm gonna miss out on this, like, crazy drama, or I'm gonna miss out on this big event, this big story, and everyone's gonna be a part of it, and I'm gonna have no idea what's going on. And the fact is that there's always something new happening on social media. Like, every 30 seconds there's a new drama, there's a new scandal, and we, like, feel like we need to be updated on it, otherwise we're gonna, like, be put in, like, social Siberia or whatever. What if we did something like this? Like, what if we had one day a week even where just everyone agreed not to go on social media? Then there would be no FOMO. It would be like, well, everyone else is sitting in their bed reading a book, so maybe I should do that too. I really think that there is a huge part in that where it's just like, am I missing out on something? Are big things happening, you know? Something to think about. something to think about. I would very much like to incorporate a social media detox into my weekly routine. I think that I will find magnificent things in that, and I think great things will happen. Hopefully, maybe maybe my creative mind is just gone. I really don't believe it is. I think that I just rely very much on this crutch too much. And I think it would be very interesting to see how I perform, how my anxiety is, all of that without it. At least not all day, every day, 7 days a week. That would be really, really great. So that's something I'm going to try and do. If you guys want to try with me, let me know. But anyway, I'm going to go now. I love you guys so much. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. It's super helpful to me, and you can see anytime I post. And yeah, I love you, and I will see you very shortly. Okay, love you. Bye.